everybody, and thank you so very much for joining us today for Buying Against Corona. I am your host today, Alex. I'm a realtor with All City Real Estate. I sit on several committees with HAR, most especially the TREPAC committee and the Bay Area Political Affairs Advisory Leadership Team. I've been serving the Houston area for just over 5 years, and I absolutely love educating and helping my clients and the community. We are joined today as co-hosts, Melanie Bowles with One Guard Home Warranties, Laura Worrell over at Lamar Lending, and Anthony Bowles over at TWFG Evan Keenan Insurance. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves, that'd be fantastic.
Good morning, everybody. This is Melanie Bowles with One Guard Home Warranties. Alex, thank you for putting this together. I think this is going to be a great informational session today. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to get through this together. And I am so sorry we're going through it, but at the same time, I'm grateful that we have these platforms to still be able to get connected and share some great information. One of the things that I love about One Guard Home Warranties, well, there's several things that I really like to share. One of them is that we've been in business for 30 years, and we have been in the state of Texas for a little over 8 years. Really super proud to be able to say that we have over 97% claim approval rates on all of our open claims. That's huge because it doesn't really matter how great I tell you our limits are and what we cover if we deny everything. But we feel so strongly about it, and we can back it up that we're able to put that in print on our brochure, over 97% claim approval rates. Some of the other things that I love to share about One Guard is that we have free, unlimited Freon with all of our warranty plans, including our free seller's coverage. We also have no HVAC limits. Many companies out there will only pay a certain dollar amount towards Freon or only a certain dollar amount towards HVAC issues. We have no limits on covered repairs. We also have home services that were created by One Guard and only One Guard offers. So some of those services are cleaning gutters, power washing, window cleaning, carpet cleaning. These are things that just make homeownership so much easier. We vet all of our contractors, so you know that someone is going to be coming out to your home. They've been vetted and they're going to do a great job. So for anybody out there that has any questions, I always tell you, my agents and or their clients, you are always welcome to call me day or night. I am here for you. I want to earn your business and I want to be part of your team. I love working on a team.
Thank you so much for everything you do for our community, Melanie.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that.
And next we have Laura. Can everybody see Laura's card?
I see Melanie's still.
Okay. There. How's that?
Yep. There we go.
Wonderful.
Hi guys, thanks for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity to join you. I guess we're learning new ways to work and work around. I am Laura Worrell with Lamar Lending, and I previously was in the retail world of lending and joined brokers. I'm very excited to be in the broker world now. It was just put on my heart to join brokers so that I can offer more programs to my clients. I can now do all kinds of products and I'm not boxed into what I can do. We are still writing many different contracts, many different loans. We're still involved in refinancing, even though that's crazy with the industry right now. The rates are very volatile, but it's still a great time to refinance. We're still writing purchases. We have access rather to so many different types of loans. Our title companies are working with us. We're doing mobile closings. Our appraisal people are working with us. Um, just everything is just really hopping right now, really going. We are seeing in the refinance right now in the low threes. I've even grabbed a couple of, hate to say this, Brandon will kill me. We've even seen some dip in the low 0.28s here and there. So if you're interested, what I say is just to get your application in and we watch it for you. And I think when things settle out, they'll even go lower. And our purchases are in the low threes for our 15 years and in the mid threes for our 30s. So it's a great time. I know it seems crazy right now with everything going on, but it's a great time to look and purchase real estate. And we have many different loans out there available. We have had some new guidelines come down from the government. So we are working with those. They are kind of tightening the credit guidelines for people, but we're going to work through those together. And if you have any questions, the best thing to do is to call someone like myself or someone that you have a relationship with and ask questions, because we have that information that comes to us daily. And my email is on the business card or my phone number, and I'd be glad to talk to you if you have any questions or have any clients that have any questions about any loan products that are out there right now.
Thank you so much,
Sure.
Laura. We have, I selected Lamar Lending to participate in this presentation with you guys because Brandon Lamar, the owner of Lamar Lending, is a broker, which means that you're not tied to any one particular lender.
Correct.
They're able to shop around and find the best rates, the best deals, the lowest fees for you. And
right.
right now, it's really hard in this situation.
It is.
Find somebody. Thank you so much, Laura, for sharing. Anthony, what would you, please introduce yourself?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again, Alex, for having me. My name is Anthony Bowles. I work over at Evan Keenan's agency over in Cypress Corners. Before we get started, I want to tell you about how our agency is different. We want to be your insurance quarterback. We want to be there for when you guys need us, whether that's to educate, for customer service, for the carrier, anything you can think of. Our job is to help you understand, organize, and feel comfortable with the insurance coverages you're getting and not being confused, because I'm very clear that insurance is confusing, and I want to help you guys be clear on that. We will even take the time to review all your policies to make sure your knowledge about what's being covered and what isn't. Our goal is to help you have a peace of mind. We shop the market for you, and when we send out a quote, we don't just send out one quote with one price. We send out a total of 4 quotes and 4 different prices, from minimal coverage to the highest coverage, so that way you're able to make informed decision for what your life presents for you. I'm part of the largest independent agency in Texas with a variety of carriers. My agency represents over 120 in property, casualty, life, and health, along with business and commercial, Our goal is to be there for when you need us most, especially during a loss, whether that's auto, home, business, life. We have a strong relationship with all of our carriers to do what is right, especially during this time. Our close carriers are being able to defer payments right now, given a heads up and given the understandings. Typically, most of our agents in our industry inundate you with questions and ask you with information to copy your current insurance coverage to try and win price comparison. We're a little different. As we go through and recommend coverages, you will begin to think about what is important to you. Then we customize and tailor your insurance and meet your needs for your life. At the end of the day, my job as your agent is for you to understand your exposures and to educate you about your choices. Then you can make a well-informed decision. And I never want to try and sell you on a policy that you don't want or don't need. We're very, very big on education.
Wonderful. That was a lot.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go on live, on video, so that we can talk about the real estate process from the realtor's perspective a little bit when you have personal. So let me go ahead and hit stop sharing. Hey everybody, can you see me?
Mm-hmm.
So right now with coronavirus, we're seeing a few things change as far as how we are, oh, how do I put it? How we're showing properties, how we're getting potential buyers and tenants into properties for them to look, to feel, to experience the property. As per the state order and the various orders in the different counties, real estate services are an essential business. They're an essential professional service. However, that does allow us to show you a property, but a consumer going to a property is at risk for fines and being ticketed, because that's not a service that most other people are going to, well, most of the police officers are going to allow. So we've been doing online showings. I've been doing web conferences for showings. I've been going on Facebook Live to do showings. And that has turned out well. I'm getting more response going Facebook Live than I am with a web conference, which using my iPad is actually a pretty good thing. But the normal timeline is 2 to 3 days once I'm introduced to a person for them to get pre-qualified. And then once they're pre-qualified, it'll be about 2 or 3 weeks normally to show properties. Now, I will immediately, with the advent of coronavirus, I'm sharing and preparing a list of properties for you to see immediately. And since you're not able to actually see the property, I am preparing, property reports for you. So instead of doing a showing immediately, I'm going to prepare a comparative market analysis on that property or a broker's price opinion. And I'm going to share that with you so that you can understand where that property sits as far as pricing on the market. Then I'm going to discuss with you if it's a purchase, then I'll discuss with you the previous mortgage information or the mortgage history on it. And I'll also be sharing with you the property archive report. Now, the property archive report is a report that MLS produces. And anytime a property changes its status, whether it goes active, option pending, continuing to show, pending, or closed, at least with the Houston market, that's recorded. There's a time and date stamp, and we have access to be able to explain to you kind of what's going on. Once we have picked the property, then we go under contract. So we submit our offers and get to title, the option fee and earnest money, if there's option fee and earnest money. And title is an insurance company. They provide the title insurance policy, and they will immediately start searching who has claim or who has title to the property. and they will produce to us, usually within 21 business days, a title commitment, which lists all of the people, all of the liens, all of the problems that there may be to the title that needs to be cleared prior to us closing. And there's always a lien, especially if the seller has a loan on the property, that lien needs to be disclosed and that needs to be paid out at closing, and the seller pays for that out of their proceeds. As far as the contract is concerned, you go under contract usually 10 to 14 days. Right now with Corona, we're looking at 14-day option periods. And that's where you get to bring in your inspector. Inspectors are also an essential professional service as far as most of the orders are concerned. I'm going to put a link in the chat to HAR's website for coronavirus. That lists who is essential, what activities are essential as far as all of the other orders. And it's updated every day or every time there's been a change to any of the orders. So definitely make sure you're taking a look at that website. But inspectors and appraisers are both considered essential. So they'll be able to go out, take a look at the property. I have an inspector that I generally recommend, especially in situations like this, because he will discuss the report with you, and he will go one item at a time to explain what he saw, what the deficiency is, and what that means to you. And that's invaluable, especially in the event that you can't actually see the property. So once we have negotiated the contract, we finished the option period, now we're ready to order the appraisal. Once we go under contract, your loan officer is going to be meeting with you to discuss your loan application and get you approved. But for more on that, I'd like to transfer over to Laura to get her expertise. So Laura, you have the mic.
Hi. So you are exactly right. I would say, obviously, the best thing to do in a Corona or non-Corona environment is to, and you hit on it, is to get pre-qualified first before you shop. We know as a real, and actually, let me back up by saying I am a real estate agent. I have been for 17 years. I'm active. I just no longer am in that lane. I don't practice real estate. But you have buying power when you are a real estate agent. I mean, when you are pre-qualified. So getting that pre-qualification is huge, because you don't want to be in the car with your real estate agent looking at a price point that you cannot afford. So when you go to your loan officer or your loan originator or your broker, and you find out how much you can qualify for and which program you qualify for and how much cash to close you're going to need and all of those things, you get that done, then you go shopping and you have that buying power. And pre-coronavirus, we were in a market where that was very important, especially at certain price points, because as you can attest to, Alex, things were going pretty quickly. And if you didn't have that pre-qualification, you may or may not have gotten that home if you weren't pre-qualified. So getting that pre-qualification. Now, in the time that we're in right now, what does that look like? How long is that taking? I will say that we are running into some things that we need to be a little bit more flexible about. For example, our verification of employment. Before, when our processors got a verification of employment, it would be really quickly. Now we're having to send emails to people at their home instead of going to maybe a corporate office, because there may not be anyone at the corporate office. So we may have to send an email to someone at home. So it may take a few more days. Appraisals, for example, once we get everything to underwriting and we schedule the appraisal, we are now doing drive-by appraisals. So the appraisers are not going in the homes to do the appraisals. So that's a little bit different of a process. So we are moving along and doing business as usual, but it's a little bit different. We are learning workarounds, but we're still getting loans qualified, pre-qualified. We're still processing loans. They're still going to underwriting, and we're still closing them. Maybe it's not as quick as 14 days, maybe it's 16 days, but we are learning just to be flexible through that. The other thing is closing. Closing is a big deal. We are doing mobile notaries. So for example, I saw on Facebook the other day, someone did a notary in a parking lot, so that we were socially distancing ourselves. So we, again, are closing homes. We're just doing that in a different way. It looks different than it looked pre-coronavirus. So those are the things that I'm seeing right now. Other than that, the important thing are the tightening of the credit limits. Pre-coronavirus, we could get someone approved FHA if they were 620. They've tightened that up, and some guidelines now are saying 640, 660. And we need some reserves on those loans for FHA, for the Govy loans. So those are just some new things that have come out in the temporary. They're tightening those loans up. I think those will go back. It's just temporary to get through what we're going through right now. So if you were pre-qualified previously, or if your clients were pre-qualified previously, maybe you need to call your loan officer and look at that again, because if they had a real low credit score, they may not still be pre-qualified. So those are just things that you need to think about moving forward. And again, we always talk about our office communication. Communication is key, because those are going to be the things that get you through this process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. And I was actually just looking up your license, and you're under Misty Bacon. I love her to death.
I did just move my license with Misty, yes.
Yes, she's amazing. She and I work together closely on the Bay Area Pals Committee.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Laura was completely right. When I got licensed in 2015, we had contracts. Oh, we had contracts. I listed a house that was in desperate need of repair, and I literally received, it's been years, but I know it was a multiple offer situation, and everybody wanted it. So the contracts that or the offers that we received that had pre-qualification letters, we were able to go ahead and just complete the negotiation, go under contract. We didn't have to worry about, well, were they really pre-qualified? Were they not really pre-qualified? So yeah, it's definitely important to get pre-qualified, but it also helps me, your realtor, to know what is actually in your price point. You know, do you want a property that has granite countertops? Well, you can find a property that has granite countertops in any price point. So that doesn't really tell us what you're looking for anymore. So getting pre-qualified helps. Then working with your lender, and we will be working with your lender on a daily basis. I will be communicating with the lender, multiple times a day, answering questions, getting clarification on loan criteria, making sure that we're negotiating appropriately to make sure that your contract runs smoothly. I'll be talking with title as well, multiple times a day. Sometimes I'm on the phone with them constantly. Sometimes I don't have to worry about talking to them for a week because they're doing their title search. So that all that stuff happens behind the scenes, and we don't, fortunately for that, we don't have to leave our offices. So how has Corona affected us in that regard? It hasn't. As far as mobile notaries, I'm a mobile notary, and I have literally notarized things on the back of cars in parking lots if I need to. I'm going to be going to a conference to see whether or not I'm able to do mobile notary over Zoom or over the internet. I know that I can, but I need to know what procedure to follow because I know that I can do it through DocuSign. But now, Laura, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the appraisal process. There is, and I was talking with my neighbor who is an appraiser, and he was telling me that there are a lot of lenders out there that are experiencing curbside appraisals or electronic appraisals from the MLS. What are your thoughts, and how is Lamar Lending working with that?
That is exactly what we are experiencing. We are experiencing curbside appraisals, and what we have been told is that our lenders currently are okay with that, but that they are to back it up with the pictures that the realtors are providing on MLS. So it takes extra work from the appraisal's point of view and the documentation that the realtors are putting on MLS. So I think it's falling a little bit, or it is falling on the realtors and on the appraisers to provide that extra documentation, because we've had our clients rebut to us and say, well, then it should be, the appraisal should not be as expensive. And we're like, well, that's not really the case. The case is going to be, they're expected to provide more documentation, more in-depth report, and more pictures and more comps. So I think, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I know they're not going in the house, but if they're providing more documentation, I think that should counter maybe what they were doing before. Because just because someone goes in a house, and I'm putting on my realtor hat a little bit here, you've seen them, Alex, you know what it looks like. Just because they go in a house doesn't mean they're providing the documentation necessarily. So, I think that could be a good outcome from this if they're doing the documentation correctly. So that's kind of what we're seeing, as long as they're doing their job the right way. The lenders are okay with that right now.
Okay, cool. And so that means that when we realtors are listing a property, fortunately, I have a professional photographer take photos, and there is so we have new software that I would love to be able to share with you. I know that we're concentrating on buyers and tenants right now, but for the listing side, there is a software that we as a brokerage are now using, and it's called Seller Shield. And what it does is it allows for the seller to complete the seller's disclosure, to provide all of the information necessary, and they have legal assistance on their end, which means the realtor is no longer responsible for that seller's disclosure, which is phenomenal for the buyer, especially in a situation like this where the buyer can't actually go to the property. Now instead of not being able to see the property, you can see what is actually wrong with it. And it's been disclosed in a way that is clear, concise, and we hope that it releases liability But then again, I mean, it is real estate. So, I mean, there's always liability in any contract. So as we continue on with the contract, you're going to be discussing a lot of things, a lot of issues with the property, potentially with your insurance company. You know, is the property, does it require Texas windstorm? Is it in a flood zone? We're going to order surveys. Surveys are paid for by the buyer, by the seller. But if you're purchasing a home, you know, down here in Clear Lake, and you're in a flood zone, you're going to need to get an elevation certificate. But how does that necessarily affect your insurance? And I'd like very much to have Anthony pop on and give us his input on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate the question. So if you are buying a house and you're curious on whether it's in a flood zone, you can contact me or a local insurance agent, and you can ask them to look up the property for you, and they can tell you whether it's in a preferred zone or high risk zone. If it's in a high risk zone, then the insurance prices for flood are going to be exponentially higher. And it's good to know going into looking at homes whether the flood insurance is going to be high. If the roof is over 15 years, if the roof's over 15 years, it's very hard to get that home insured. So the age of the roof and the flood zone are big determinators of insurance pricing all around. If you are in that preferred zone, that X zone, flood insurance is very inexpensive in relativity to the payouts of what it could be. Again, though, we're having to provide a little more information, as we usually do, with the replacement cost of the home on how to properly rate the home, as people are, as we try and educate that replacement cost value is very important in insurance, because all the carrier really cares about is the structure. So we provide the replacement cost, and we also provide the tax appraisal value from either HCAD, Montgomery Appraisal District, whatever county that home is placed in. We provide the tax information along with the replacement cost information to better evaluate the insurance. Because if the property is $320,000, but the building structure only is replacement cost of $250,000, we're able to go within 20% of that replacement cost, which exponentially lowers your insurance rating and your insurance payments. The dwelling value is one of the biggest increasers in determining those prices. But with what's going on with the corona and everything, we're doing a lot of DocuSign and a lot of follow through with the clients to make sure that they're an understanding of the policy and reviewing it over the phone in detail as much as possible.
Wonderful. Now, how does that work with home warranty? Because I know structural and house systems can differ.
Yes, so good question. So there is an endorsement with that's called equipment breakdown, and equipment breakdown covers items such as washing machines, ACs, dishwashers, etc. Home warranty goes in and is much more forgiving on that side of things, and being what is covered and what is not. It's a lot clearer than the equipment breakdown, and is a lot more forgiving than the equipment breakdown coverage in that sense.
Okay, Melanie, would you like to add anything? Because I know you would.
Yes, you know I would, Alex. Yes, so I did want to say, I failed to mention earlier that with everything going on with the coronavirus, OneGuard is still up and working. Obviously, a lot of us are working from home, still connecting and helping out either the agents or the clients with any questions or concerns or ordering of warranties. But we do also still have our service contractors out Granted, we are taking a lot of extra precautions going into people's homes, but we still are servicing those failures in our homeowners' homes. In reference to the differences between some of what might be covered under insurance versus something that might be covered under a warranty. And Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I don't know all the ins and outs about your industry, but for a home warranty, the way we explain it is the mechanical items in your home are what is covered under a home warranty. So your HVAC, your appliances, your electrical, your plumbing. So say for instance, my washing machine floods, my wood floors. Your insurance company is going to take care of the damage done, the wood floors. Home warranty is going to be looking at repairing or replacing the washing machine. So again, home warranty typically covers the mechanical items, and home insurance covers more of the structural.
Yes, I would love to add on to that, Melanie. The washing and the personal contents is what it would fall under. The washing machine, anything that is not structurally sound to the structure is considered personal contents. So again, you are correct in that sense.
And that's actually a huge value to a buyer. You know, after they've purchased the property, something goes wrong, you know, there is a lot of, I mean, everybody, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong from your real estate experience, the buyer, first thing they want to do is just seek litigation. But in all actuality, there are so many other options out there that are cost effective, and they get the result, one, immediately, and they get a result that works best for them. I think that's actually phenomenal. That's not information that we generally get. So I think, you know, these Zoom meetings are just phenomenal
I
sources
agree.
of information to buyers. So once we get down to, you know, closing, you know, we have every loan has its own different requirements, disclosures. You know, are you being disclosed in 3 days? Are you able to be disclosed? And what I mean by disclosed is you get a copy of the closing disclosure to give you a list of how much money you pay, who you pay, how are you paying, what is your interest rate, what is your monthly payment, what is your escrow payment, what's your, you know, all the financial information. I don't want to list everything on the closing disclosure because that is truly not my lane. I just review it and make sure that my client isn't paying too much. Laura, did you want to say anything about the CD?
Well, when initial disclosures go out, it usually does take about 3 to 4 days, and it usually comes in the form of an LE, which is a loan estimate. We don't get the CD till we get closer to, and it's preliminary. I hate that word. And I will say this, for my clients especially, and at Lamar Lending as well, we always aim high so that when we come back low, they're thrilled. You never want to come low and then come back high, then they're upset. So we do estimate relatively high on our loan estimate because we know if we're in the ballpark, then they can afford that house. And when they get the preliminary CD a few days before closing and we're lower, then they're thrilled. So they'll get the disclosures, they'll sign all of those, they'll have a loan estimate. And it is ballpark, don't get me wrong, but it may be $500, $1,000 off. And then as we get closer to, we'll get a needs list. There'll be some updated statements that need to come so we can show that they still have that cash to close for underwriting. And there may be a few other little things that they need just per underwriting. It's very common. And then of course the realtor will be kept in the loop. The communication again is key. And I have a few that are closing in April right now, just a few little things along the way just to make sure that we're good to go. And then a few days before closing, if not, usually 24 hours before closing, they will get a CD that shows what they're going to be signing at closing. And those are the final numbers, so that they will know what to bring to closing. One thing that I'm kind of maybe a little bit different, but I never have my people wire funds to closing. I guess that's a real estate agent in me. I do not like wiring funds. I always make sure that my CDs are out 48 to 28 hours before, so that they can go to the bank and get a cashier's check. I want that cashier's check at closing. So I don't feel comfortable with all the wire fraud that's going on. I've been to too many classes and seen too many scary stories or heard them. And so that way we know. And if for some reason there is an accounting issue, it's usually maybe, I haven't had an accounting issue, but if there is, it may be $50 or something, we can fix that at closing table. So that's what we do. And we sign our papers and fund and get those keys over, and no more hugs, no more handshakes. We can give an elbow or whatever we do. And then we're happy to go.
See, and I make handmade soap, so I just give that to my clients as a closing gift.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Cool.
And Melanie can tell you whether or not the soap is any good. So now we're talking about after closing. No, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of insurance companies will do an insurance inspection to determine whether or not the property is truly insurable.
I'm sorry, Alex, you actually cut out when you were asking that question. Could you repeat it for me? I apologize.
Sure. Absolutely. I've had some situations where the insurance company will, after closing, do their inspection of the property to determine whether or not it's insurable. What does your company do on that?
Yes, so great question. Every carrier we have, I say every carrier, the majority of the carriers we have, home carriers, do go out and do an outside inspection of the home. Before I write the policy, I try and gain as much information from the insured as possible. Notes as any damage to the home currently, the age of the roof. We even try and go to the home if it's possible. I try and drive by it if it's not too far from me, so that way I have a real understanding of how I'm quoting the property and how I'm writing it up, so that way it's as accurate as it can be. Because sometimes when we get information from HAR or online, it's a little it's not up to date. So when they do these inspections, we try and provide them with the most up to date information. Given that the home is in structural sound and it is to the standards that we had quoted it with, the inspection will go just fine, as long as there's no neglecting of the property that's being seen from visible from the outside. The inspector walks around the outside from front to back, and usually requires access to the back of the home. And again, the biggest thing that declines a homeowner from getting insured is usually the roof. The age of the roof is a big factor. Anything over 10 years is difficult. 15 is really hard. It is possible given that we have the amount of carriers, but it is difficult, and it does require a little underwriting assistance. Thankfully, we do have a lot of underwriters with the carriers, so we have a lot of wiggle room sometimes. But again, the factors of the roof and it being in a flood zone are the big two key factors.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. That's something that a lot of buyers don't necessarily take into consideration. You know, is the house actually insurable? Because a buyer will have their own property inspection during the option period, but they don't realize that the insurance company is also going to do an inspection. The one thing that I do offer my insurance providers is, if you need to go into the property, just contact me, and I'll go ahead and schedule a showing with you, so that way you can take a look at the property. Not many insurance agents ever take me up on that, but that's your prerogative, not mine. So
really good service.
Yeah, it's all about making sure that the client is informed and they're getting the best service possible.
Definitely.
So I wanted to open it up for any questions. If anybody had any questions, I would like very much to invite anybody to offer any questions. I know Melanie has to leave to go to another Zoom meeting here in about 9 minutes. So
Yes, I did want to say, because I was fumbling to unmute my microphone when Alex was talking about the soaps that he gives out to his clients for a gift, and they are awesome. He actually gave me some, and I kept one, and I shared one with my daughter who has really sensitive skin, and she's always looking for a soap that's not going to break her out in hives, and she absolutely loved it. So thumbs up to Alex for making those. And I love the videos of you creating all those very cool colors and designs.
well, thanks. That actually makes me feel better because the FDA says that when we make soap, we're not allowed to market anything, any
Oh
health
gosh.
benefits or whatnot. So I don't have the ability to test it on anybody.
Oh, really?
So,
Well,
yay.
the other thing that I love probably just as much as the soap itself, when I very first met Alex down in Kima, we were at a little coffee shop, and we were just kind of, getting to know each other and what our businesses were all about and networking. And he started telling me about making the soaps. And I about fell out of my chair laughing at all of the names. The names are so creative. I always envy people that have that creativity.
I think you're talking about Shrek Snot.
Yes, that's absolutely one of them. Shrek Snot.
Yeah, I still have some, actually. But I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy day. I know, Laura, you are absolutely swamped right now. This year we've had there has been a miscommunication by the federal government when it comes to lowering the Fed rate. Lowering the Fed rate only lowers the interest rate on lenders to borrow money. There's a whole long process on how that works, but the Fed rate lowered the interest rate on lenders to lend money from 1% to 0.5%.
Yes.
That does help us eventually in real estate, but it's a whole loan servicing nightmare right now. And underwriters are literally being inundated by applications.
It is absolutely crazy. And again, that's why Brandon and I always say that education and communication is key. The rates are historically low, but there are no 0% interest rates, nor will there ever be. Or let's hope that there's not 0% interest rates, so we have a problem, Houston. That is not healthy for our economy or for our industry especially. So again, it's just about education. I do think they will dip down, but I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would be a millionaire and not sitting here on a Zoom phone call. So it's just about education and communication. I obviously have been in the industry for a long time, and we don't need to go there, but you looked my license up. But I went to the lending side because I do think it is about education, and I like to partner with realtors and with people to help them with this part that is very technical, and a lot of people do not understand it. And I'm still learning every day. It changes daily. The guidelines change, the loans change, the interest rate changes, and we just walk through that piece together. But exactly what you said, Alex, it's not what people hear on the TV by any means. It's a totally different industry.
It most definitely is. And, to touch on what you said about switching fields, real estate is a great big giant family.
It is.
Sometimes more dysfunctional than anything else. But working with other agents to, HAR rules say that we are required to work with another agent until working with another agent is not in our client's best interest. But it's always in our client's best interest to work well with others. And I
That's right.
love being able to work with phenomenal lenders, awesome insurance providers,
That's
great
right.
title companies, great home warranty companies, because when one of us wins, we all win.
That's right.
And
That's
that
right.
buyer is always going to win. So Angel asked us a question. She says, do you feel now is a good time to buy or wait because of COVID? So that's a very good question. I've been speaking with new construction representatives and the like, and the general consensus is once coronavirus pandemic is over and we start to see a rebound in the financial markets, prices are going to go up. So right now, during the coronavirus shelter orders and whatnot, we're seeing not a sense of desperation on the seller's side, but a sense of understanding that right now we have a need over necessity. Thank you, Melanie. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see. I'll follow up with you later this afternoon.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all your time. And thanks, Alex, for putting this together.
Thank you, ma'am. So I lost my train of thought. Needs over wants. So I think the sellers are starting to understand that there is a need to sell their house, and buyers are now looking at what do they need over what do they want. Do you need a 4-bedroom house, or is that what you want? Do you need to have a new roof, or do you want to have a new roof? How many years do you have left on the roof? Realistically, I know, just from speaking to inspectors, I am not an inspector, but generally, if you have a 30-year roof here in Texas, because of our heat and humidity and high wind situations, that 30-year roof could last you 15, 20 years. So, what is the actual expectancy of a roof? What foundation issues are there? Is it something that you can live with, as opposed to needs over wants? Once we are free to go back to work and free to go about our lives like, I don't think that's going to be possible for us to go back to our lives like they were before. This has just hit us all so hard. And having worked in healthcare, these are all things that, my family's been doing, self-quarantining, especially around Thanksgiving. I like to self-quarantine with all the food. Everybody else can go find something else. I'll give them Stouffer's. But I think now is the time to really start considering purchasing a home. I think now is the time to work with the lender to get your finances in order, because just because now is the time to buy a house is now the time to buy a house for you. Are there things on your credit that could be changed? Are there, income? Or are we in a situation where we may lose a job? I would most certainly hope not, because that's detrimental. Take real estate out of the picture. That's detrimental. We don't want you losing your job. We want you paying your bills. We want you putting food on the table. We want you to be able to enjoy your life as best any of us can. So real estate aside, We want to make sure that you are taken care of. But yes, now is the time, definitely. The market has indicated on several points that now is the perfect opportunity to buy a home. We're very fortunate that in real estate, as it has evolved over the last 20 years, that we're able to provide more services to you electronically. And you don't have to meet me in my office. I mean, since I've been at All City for the last 3 years, I've not had an office. I mean, unless you'd like to drive and meet me in Austin. I come to you, and I come to you through web conferencing. I come to you at coffee shop, your home, wherever, because real estate is not in an office. Real estate is taking care of you as a person. So in that respect, we're here for you. We're here to answer any questions. You don't necessarily need to be working with a realtor to ask a question. Ask any realtor a question. We do say that if you are working with a realtor, please ask them the question, or let us know that you're working with a realtor, and then we will reach out to that realtor and let them know that you have a question. We do want to maintain the integrity of representation, and we want to maintain the integrity of contracts. But we're here. Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just agree exactly with what you said. Brandon and I had a little live FaceTime video yesterday, and I concur with what you said. The one thing that we do have right now is time. Some of us have time because of our different working situations. So if you are thinking about purchasing, I think that time is on your side if you're still employed. So it is a good time with the lower rates to get your information to a lender, to fill out the application, because let's just be real, it is time consuming to get a pre-qualification done, to find a realtor, to make those contacts, to make those relationships, whether it's in person or over Zoom or Skype, to get all of that in and get all of that going, to shop your insurance, to make that contact with an insurance agent, to get all of that together. It takes a couple of days. It takes a while to find the right loan, to get pre-qualified, to make the relationship with the lender, to find an insurance agent, to find the correct insurance policy for the correct house. So you have the time right now, since you're working, you're telecommuting, to get those pieces in place and to have all that front end work done, so that whether you decide to, your pre-qualification is good for 90 days. So do it now so that you're ready and that you'll be ahead of the curve, so that whether you purchase a home now or you purchase a home as soon as we come out of this, your pieces are in place while the rates are low. You know what your insurance is going to look like. You know who your realtor is. You can look at properties virtually, you can shop, and you know what your loan guidelines are. You know what price point you can be looking at. All of those things are in place. And so again, whether you do that virtually or whether you do it when we are not quarantined, all of that's been done, and you're not stuck back at the house doing that when everybody can go out and do what they want to do. That's my take on it, because it is a time-consuming process. It's not major time-consuming, but you can do it at night instead of watching TV. That's kind of, again, my take on it. So I think it is a good time. I've been using my time to take care of paperwork that I've been putting off. So yeah, I think it's a great time.
And then, you can always reach me on Facebook. I generally don't go to sleep, or I don't get off Facebook until almost midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning. So even if you're on my Facebook business page and you shoot me a message there, Facebook says that I'm closed, but I'm still there. I'm still going to get it. It comes right on my cell phone, on my computers, on the PC, on my laptop, on my iPad. I live, work, And yeah. Now, but I do want to give Anthony the opportunity to give his opinion on whether or not now is a good time to buy, because quite frankly, in the general real estate process, we don't get to see or hear from the insurance agent. So giving him the opportunity as much as I possibly can is kind of paramount to me.
I appreciate that. And again, you cut out right when you were saying your statement or your question. I apologize about my interconnection today.
That's okay. The question is, do you feel buying now is a good time or waiting? Because if COVID goes on longer, the price of homes will go down.
I think personally, from what I've seen in the market recently, I think now is a great time to buy. And I agree with what the things you guys are saying with y'all's markets. They go in line with what I'm seeing in my market. And those things that I'm referring to are the replacement cost. In the past few weeks, in the past 2 weeks, we've seen replacement cost percentages increase just a small amount. And again, replacement cost has a very large amount to do with the price you pay. That's the dwelling amount coverage. 20% within 20% of the dwelling coverage is the replacement cost. So I do agree that now is the time to buy. We can't really predict whether the replacement cost of the materials is going to increase or decrease. So if I were a buyer, I would try and catch the storm early before it got too big.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Anthony, do you have any questions for our lender?
Is there
or me?
anything on the insurance side to help lenders or realtors during this time besides a little more follow through and follow up during these opportunities?
At this point, I'm not sure. To answer your question, we've been literally inundated, or at least I have, by what is the market? Do I need to buy? Do I need to sell? Do I need to lower my price? How much do I need to lower my price? And I have to take everything, one property at a time. I would definitely like something from either you or your marketing team to kind of give us a good idea of what it is that you are all doing to continue and stay consistent. Because I think with everything changing in our market, and there's not really that much that's changing, but we're being inundated with all of these weird things and weird changes that it's good to have some sort of consistency, some sort of game plan. And that was really the reason I wanted to do this presentation today. But I want to thank you, Angel, for your question. I hope it answered. I hope we were able to answer your question, because I know we did it to the best of our ability. Laura had to step away from her camera, so to preserve her privacy, and for me as the marketing specialist to not want to say you have.
I will add, Alex, if people who see the video, and Angel, if you're listening still, if you guys are trying to lower the insurance payments monthly or yearly during this time, whether that be loss of job, money going to other things due to the given circumstances in the world, we are reviewing the policies with our clients to, again, properly advise their risks during this time. There's a few things that we can lower coverages during this time that we can come back to at a later date once the opportunities give us the chance to again, properly evaluate the risks at hand given the market. So there's always something we can do to be proactive in either whether that's moving you around or just evaluating your policy and reviewing it with you and your concerns.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much. Well,
Thank you
I
again,
think
Josh, for putting this on.
absolutely. I think that this is a valuable opportunity for anybody, and it's equally valuable for us professionals, for us to be able to communicate with each other and learn about what's going on. And in the process, we're able to disseminate that information to people who are looking at spending the money. Because right now, there's a lot of questions out there.
Yes,
So thank
yes,
you
a
for
lot of them.
being part of it.
Anytime, anytime. I appreciate it.
So I think we're going to go ahead and end. I think Laura is running out to actually go take care of a client and a phone call. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone again. I will have this video uploaded onto, thank you, Laura. So I'll have this video uploaded to YouTube in just a little bit, and you'll have a link to share the video if you would like it. Thank you all. Have a good one.
You as well. Perfect. Thank you.